Hello, Playdate. This is Don.
There's no Nick, but I'm Ryan.
This week we are covering both Playdate news and recent indie releases.
And since it's just me and Don, we'll be the pepperoni and pineapple inside your tiny little Playdate pizza box today.
Oh, that's cute. I've got dibs on the pineapple. Thank you for
Ooh.
listening. Let's get started.
Oh, I like you even more than I did before, Don. I love pineapple. That's fantastic. Do you know I was in Chicago this past weekend
I did know.
and I went to uh, a subpar pizza place that did not have Chicago deep dish. And I tried to get pepperoni and pineapple. And they're like, they looked at me very funny. And I said, what, you don't have pineapple? No, no, we don't have pineapple. Okay. So then I went to a very well established Chicago deep dish pizza place. I've been before.
Mhm.
And I swear on whatever holy thing you think about that I had pineapple on my pizza there before. This time, no pineapple, not just out of it for the day, but like not on the menu. So I could not get my pepperoni and pineapple fix anywhere in Chicago. What is up with that?
That is weird. I can see, I get that not everybody likes it, but not everybody likes anchovies, and places still will have a can of anchovies there.
Yeah. I
Not a
mean,
bucket, but a can.
give me the option.
Yeah, weird.
Anyway,
We're pro pineapple. I feel like Nick would be pro pineapple if he were here. But Ryan, we're
yes.
going to start off totally off topic. I hate when podcasts do this.
I know you do. I
Hate
hesitated just
this.
not
But
very much at all bringing that
indulge
up.
us
But
for 10 more seconds. Ryan, why in the hell were you in Chicago this weekend and not in 2 weeks when Pinball Expo is going on?
oh, guess
How did
what?
you
I'm
screw
going
that up?
back in 2 weeks
Okay.
for Expo, but I was also in Chicago because I had another stop on my tour. But this sounds like end of
Yeah.
podcast talk. I can't even believe you asked that question of me,
Oh, no,
Don.
I
Thank
know, I
you.
know. I know you had a stop on your tour, but why not? Why then you gotta go back? Why not make uh, planets align, moons
Because
align?
I'm a very inefficient person. No,
You need that
we just kind of
calendar.
we kind of planned a family trip around it. So my
Oh,
wife and son and I all went over, went to the Art Institute. We visited some friends and went out to multiple pizza places and searched for pineapple and just had a nice family weekend of it. Whereas at Expo you're kind of like
that's
trapped in the
true.
hotel and it's not much of a family vacation time, whereas
No,
this
it's
one was
not.
like a 1 or 2 hour signing and then that's it. So made it a little easier.
Pinball conventions not for families.
Right.
Does not sound like that sounds, what is it? Backwards, but yeah,
Yeah, I
not
mean,
as much fun with your family,
when
believe
you're
it or
when
not.
you're as deeply invested in pinball as some of us happen to be, yeah,
Mhm.
anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Anyway, so Playdate
Playdate
families,
stuff,
let's talk to our
yeah.
Playdate family.
Hey, so Playdates. Oh, you got me all off topic. I almost forgot my
No, I was
respectful
hoping
boops
that would
leading
work.
us into the news and notes for today, starting with the Playdate community census, which is a big one. Donathan, did you see this? I'm hoping you
Yeah,
saw this.
we gotta give a lot of props to
Ooh, yes.
GovBubs and Mac Vogel,
The government
who
of all the bubs.
yes, who has the last few years, I think they've spent a tremendous amount of effort putting together the the Playdate community census, which is
For sure.
a stack of information, and it's publicized on Reddit, Discord, Twitter, Mastodon, Blue Sky, Resetera, and the dev forum. Um, so thank you so much for putting this together, guys. I've been trying to put one together for just our podcast for a couple of years, and it would be like three questions probably. Do you like our show? Are you sure? Thanks, guys. And that would be about the extent of it. This thing is like 30 or 40 pages or something like that
It's 40 slides
of
long.
yeah,
Yes,
of
yes, it's
information.
incredible.
It's
And they
fantastic.
received well over 600 responses, 648 responses. And they did this over the period of July 1st to August 1st, 2024. And they did this again, or previously in 2022. 648 responses. Were actually down a little over 100 responses from 2022. Still sounds like a lot to me, but why don't we get into this a little bit? They even went over some of their methods and biases and shortcomings, so you can read over some of that if you like. But just real quickly, the census was limited to those with Google accounts and presented only in English, and respondents without a Playdate were able to give feedback on questions. But for the questions that were Playdate specific, there were filtered questions for those without a device.
Mhm.
So all that to say, there were a number of different segments within this community census, ranging from community demographics to Playdate hardware, game purchasing, Playdate games, development, and some closing thoughts. Don and I are going to go over about half of these today because we could probably make about 18 shows with the amount of information that's in here. So we're going to do about and then save the rest for Nick because there's some like technical stuff that we think he would be really good to speak toward. So, with that said, Don, you want to get into who are we? Who's playing Playdates? Who's responding to this survey?
Yeah, they first broke it down by age, gender identity, and continent, which is pretty neat. Age was pretty much dead in the middle at like 33 to 34.
I was
With
really surprised at that. Were you surprised at that? I thought it
I
would
thought it would
skew
skew
older.
younger.
Really?
Oh,
Oh, huh. Yeah, I thought it would skew older because I thought, mono chromatic screen, very harkening back to the Game Boy. I feel like that's pretty squarely in Gen X's wheelhouse. I thought it would be older than 33, but man, that surprised me. It was that young.
I get where you're coming from. I guess I was thinking disposable income of the 20s, but we're also the disposable income of the 20s isn't as much a thing anymore as it was when we were in our 20s. Like
Hmm.
jobs don't pay as much and things are more expensive now. So maybe that window has slid up a bit.
Hmm.
So I guess maybe we're where it should be in the mid 30s.
Yeah, that's interesting. Those are interesting thoughts. I didn't think about that. I feel like I had less disposable income in my 20s than I do. I feel like I'm a little more secure now, but at the age of, I'm 45, if we didn't mention that. But it looks like
Very
I'm way
old.
down in the lower brackets there of people playing play dates. Huh? Interesting.
Not lower. I mean,
I mean, that's pretty
it's a
low.
wide
Looks like,
range. A child stole a Google account apparently. There's a couple answers under 15.
well,
And
10
there's a
to
couple
15.
over
I mean,
65.
that's a teenage. I think about 13, 14, 15-year-old playing a play date. Yeah, totally. I can see
They
that.
can play
That's a,
it, but I don't see them. My kids wouldn't do censuses, surveys and stuff. That's
I
cool with the
mean,
kids that
I
do.
Yeah, totally. I feel like there are some invested youngsters in the Playdate community, and I can totally see a couple of them jumping on there. It's not a lot. It looks like it's, single digits in that
Yeah.
range. But
We're,
I mean, for the 30 to 35 range, you're up at around like 150 almost, the respondents, 150 respondents. Whereas like, my demographic, 45 to 50, looks like there's 30
ooh, that's
something.
true. Don't,
Like
all
that's,
right, we got to move
ugh.
on. We got to move on. We got a lot to
Okay.
cover.
All
Not
right.
just old,
Fine.
not just how
Fine.
few old people are surviving.
Yeah.
Old
Okay.
people like us. All right. As far as gender identity, males overwhelmingly over 81%, females about 8%, non-binary almost 8%, and then prefer not to say and other roughly 3%. So they've seen a slight increase in identify as female and non-binary, an increase about 2% each, which is pretty neat. That means I guess they've chipped away at the male percentage. But I noticed there's been an uptick in female devs that we've talked about and non-binary devs, uh, which is really cool. That I don't know, we just talked about over the past couple of years. So
Yeah. Yeah. I
not
hope those
surprising.
numbers continue to skew upward. I took a look at this graph initially and saw over 80% male and thought, oh my gosh, can we not do better? Like,
Yeah, but
please, can we? But
I
it's
think of
nice to
like the,
see
the
that.
2010 surveys of like, oh, it's 95% guys playing video games kind of thing.
Yeah. True.
This is a lot
So
better.
I guess there's movement. It's just depressingly slow. But I'm glad that there's movement in those categories and an additional couple percent in female and non-binary categories. So that's
Mhm.
great. Please continue coming into this very friendly community. We want you here.
Yeah, for sure. And then continent, North America, 66%. I'm a little bit surprised it's that high. I thought there'd be a little bit higher representation in other continents because it
I
feels like
was
it's a very
too.
diverse or a very international crowd. But it is almost 30% in Europe. Excuse me, almost 28% in Europe, and then about 2.5% in Oceania. I hope I'm saying that
Oceania.
right. Oceania. That was not a continent when I was in school, so I'm a little behind the ball on that. And then 2.3% on Asia, and about 1% and 0.1% on South America and Africa. But a
With
big
that
increase in
said,
European players, over
yes.
6%.
Yeah. All right. Next slide talks about languages we read, and 646 or 100% of the respondents speak English, which I suppose is unsurprising since the survey itself was in English. But then it goes Spanish with 13% of folks who responded being able to speak Spanish, 11% French, 7% German, and then from there it's 5% and below for Japanese, Russian, Italian, Dutch, Portuguese, Polish, Swedish, Arabic, Ukrainian, Romanian, and Korean. Okay, so
Ryan, you're getting into the nitty gritty.
I'm, don't want to leave anyone out.
The Playdate OS, it's worth noting, is still only available in English, so it's cool that lots of multilingual folks in here.
Yeah.
Very neat. Um, moving along, where do we get our Playdate news? This one I felt was really interesting. Di-
Yes.
Discord's still the highest, which I'm not super surprised. 60% with almost with 385 responses,
And
because
evidently that beat out Reddit, which it did not before, which also surprised me. I thought Discord would have been the highest in 2022 as well. Evidently not.
maybe Discord just took a while to get the word out.
Hmm.
Uh, I mean, I could see owners, once you own it or you're planning on buying one, then you would move over to a Discord. You'd
Yeah,
probably
true.
start on a Reddit and then get
Hmm.
more
Yeah,
owned in.
there you
But
go.
that's still a this is where the survey, the consensus, the census, I keep saying consensus, don't I? That's where it started.
Census
So
consensus.
that's where it started. So Discord, and
Yeah.
then itch is pretty high. YouTube Playdate newsletter, very cool. That's
Hmm.
got almost 250 responses. Twitter, huge drop, 37% drop.
Down
Um,
to 24%.
from 61. And I would say, yeah, Twitter, I would probably put as like my number one source in the last survey. That was like the spot to get up to date news. And now
Mhm.
a lot of us don't check it.
But
So
Don, who's hot on Twitter's heels here?
that's not us. That's the Playdate podcast, which only had a few
Mm,
episodes this past year.
yeah, yeah.
And then the official Playdate forum, which I don't look at very often. That's like the big dev forum. Mastodon, honestly, I'm surprised it's that high, but that's cool. And then
Now, Don, now,
there,
who's after
okay.
Mastodon?
Hello Play Podcast. 80 people representing. Thank you so much for your votes there.
Yes.
I was honestly surprised to see us here. I guess I didn't
Yeah.
expect it.
Bringing
But
up the middle of the pack. Thank you, guys. We appreciate you.
yeah, that's cool. And then the Playdate Wiki has been gaining steam. I'm curious to see what it would have been in 2022, but I've been hearing the Playdate Wiki come up more and more frequently lately, which is really cool. That's a great source, and happy to see it gaining speed. And then stuff like Friends and Family, Blue Sky, etc. Usual Suspects, it starts to dip under 5% from there.
Yeah. So I think we need to start a campaign next year so that Hello Playdate podcast beats out Mastodon at least. Like
Yeah,
we got to
can't
beat
we?
Mastodon, right?
Yeah,
Like
we needed
we're here
17 votes.
we're here every other week giving you all the hot goss on Playdate. We got to bump that up, right? We can
I
get
know
what
how
is
many
that?
people are
17?
downloading this every week. So
Is it more
it's
than
more than
the
80.
number that
It's much more
voted?
than
Okay.
80.
Oh,
Many
wow.
times more
Hey.
than 80. So come
Oh.
on, guys.
All right. We'll start lobbying next time one of these
Next
things
time,
comes
yeah.
out. Yeah, we got to beat
Well,
Mastodon. They're only 17 votes ahead of us. We can do that. I feel like I want to beat Twitter, but they're quite a number of votes ahead of us.
if they keep dropping, we could do it.
Huh?
What's down another 40%?
Yeah, there
I
you
don't know
go. But
math, but let's Let's keep
Dare to
moving.
dream. Anyway, so there's where we get our Playdate news, but also for the last
Hmm.
news slide, in the last 12 months, 32% of respondents have used the Playdate wiki.
Hell yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Have you used the Playdate wiki recently, Don?
Yes, that's what I was just
Nice.
talking about. The Playdate Wiki's gaining speed. I love seeing that.
Yeah, yeah. Didn't know if you were using it or not, but good to know. Also, itch.io is still going strong despite catalog's release, as 81% of respondents have used it in the last 12 months. That's great. I remember back to the early days of this podcast when I was very frightened about Twitch, not Twitch, itch, and side loading games. And I didn't know how to do that. So I am very proud of our community for being over 4/5 willing to download things from itch still. So good job, guys. Um, I think that
Well,
does it for. Oh, yeah,
oh, I was just gonna say,
yeah,
still a lot of good stuff on there. Don't sleep on itch.
yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
let's keep going.
Okay, cool. So that does it for the community demographics category of the Playdate community census. We're going to hop past Playdate hardware because that sounds like a Nick category to me. We're going to wait for him to come back next episode. So we're going to jump down to, if you're playing along, game purchasing. So let's see what we hear. 91.8% of respondents have purchased a game outside of the season. That's fantastic. This is up 18% from 2022. We also asked for an estimated money spend on games outside of the season. So, how much do you spend on Playdate games? Well, the average was roughly $70 for games you've purchased outside of the season. It ranged from anywhere between $0 to $450, whoever you are, sir or ma'am, whale. We appreciate you buying up all those games. Very
That's
cool.
us.
But yeah,
Don't
well,
you think?
trying to, you know,
Oh, I mean,
up our own game here. What am
other
I saying?
people that aren't us. That's what I
Yeah,
meant. Yeah.
somebody else must have also purchased them. Anyway, yes, we are in big support of games on catalog, outside catalog, on the season, outside the season, all that, as you know, if you've listened to any of these episodes. But Don, what else are we looking at here?
Something that I thought was interesting there was that 2 years ago, the last census, there wasn't a catalog, right?
Right.
So I thought that number would be higher, right?
Well, well,
Up 18%.
if they're comparing it to last one, it must have existed, right? So maybe maybe catalog did
No,
exist, but
outside of
maybe
the
it was
season would
quite
have
new.
been outside of the season could have still been itch, which is
Uh-huh.
fine.
Uh-huh.
Up 18% wouldn't have been like it since catalog came. I feel like a
Mm.
lot of people would have been buying that weren't buying. There were a lot of Ryans, a lot more
Mm.
Ryans last time. But
A
now
lot of
there's no excuse anymore.
a lot of frightened people out there. It's okay, guys. We
Way
can do
less
this.
fright. I feel like
Yes.
it should be up like 65, 70%.
Huh.
But
I see what you're
maybe there were a
saying.
lot less frightened people out last time than I thought there were.
Huh.
Does
Maybe
that make
they
sense?
all accepted our cajoling to get out and download something from itch
Yes.
previously. Who knows?
Our 17% influence or whatever it
Yeah,
was.
our 80 person voting audience. All
Yeah.
right. Uh cool. So catalog shoppers tend to prefer using the web interface question mark.
Yeah.
The mostly web and only web votes captured about 43% of the responses, whereas the mostly device and only device purchases had about 30%. See, I think that's how you and Nick roll.
Yeah.
Whenever I purchase something from catalog, I want to crank to buy. Doop, 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 doop,
No.
doop, doop,
I think I bought
doop.
maybe two games on my device and I don't
Ah,
know, 30 not on device or something. I don't know.
wild. Oh man, I don't understand it, but
Because it's
evidently
one click. It
this.
takes
Oh, but then you don't get to crank.
I
How
get that, but
satisfying is that?
it takes time to load the shop and it takes time to load the games and
Ah, get me off of my computer if I can. I prefer that device. But
yeah,
anyway,
get me off my computer. I want to start playing faster. I don't want to like get off my computer, then sit here and enter another interface. I want to
yeah,
be
but if you're
playing. I want to be sitting there ready to go.
exactly, I don't want to get on another interface,
The
another
other
screen.
interface
Just let
is
me
the
buy it on the
catalog.
device itself.
I want to click the button as I'm like rolling my chair away from the desk. And then when I go to pick up my play date, it's already on there and I just click play.
Well, you know what's really funny is that we, as a trio of podcast hosts, seem to mirror this statistic. So more
Yeah.
of us here prefer web than on device. Funny. Anyway, that's how things are skewing here. But what's going on with the season satisfaction, Don?
Yeah, it looks like most people love it. 57% love the season delivery system. If you're not familiar, you get 2 games a week for the first 12 weeks of ownership once you activate your Playdate. So 24 games, and then once you get on catalog, of course, you get another 2 free games there. And
What
then
I'm
go
sorry, go
ahead.
ahead.
Well, I was
Oh,
going to say that's 57% love it. That's a five. Another
yeah.
27% are at a four. There's only one person that voted hate it.
Yeah. So
Who's that
I
dude?
love that bottom portion where there is 0% hate it. There was one vote for it. It almost feels like it was a joke vote, like just one person did it. But yeah, an overwhelming amount of love for the season delivery. And it also mentions that almost everyone would consider buying an official season two from Panic. Hey, Panic.
Yeah.
Hey, Panic. Are you listening? I think you might. 69% of respondents would buy another season of games, and 29% would buy if the price was right. The 29% is up 5% from 2022. So panic. Come on now. Get
Well,
on that season two. We've been waiting.
this next slide though is one of the most interesting ones in the deck for me though. Considering the season, how much would you expect to
Mhm.
pay for a season of 12 games?
Yeah. Hey, before we read this, where were you in this pricing
I
for a season of games? So we've got a couple different graphs here, one for a season of 12 games and one for a season of 24 games. So Don, where were you at in this?
I think I put something like 30, 29, 29.99, something like that. I don't
Yeah.
remember what you could type in, but I think if they stayed under 30, they'd be okay. Over
Mhm.
30 is kind of like you start to get into full price physical game territory on another console, and people start to go, their head starts to spin, even if though they're getting however many games is going to be in a season, they start to he and ha.
hmm Yeah, I see that. I think I was right around these averages. So the average for 12 games in a season was right around the $30 mark, 30.87. And then they said, how much would you expect to pay for a season of 24 games versus 12 games? And it went up to a little over $50, 51, 55.
Hmm.
Then, a bell curve on either side of that. So these averages are up a little bit from the census in 2022, up a buck for the 12 games and up a couple bucks for the 24 game question.
I mean, somebody put in like $120, so and it's
That's
like
Nick.
$6 a game. Well, it's $6 a game, so that's not a bad value per game, $6 per
Uh,
game.
yeah.
But I don't see people realistically doing that.
Mm,
I was trying to be somewhat realistic, so I think I put
yeah.
49 or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then let's go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think my votes were right around these averages, but
Yeah.
I think I said that already. So go ahead, Don. Sorry.
I somewhat lost my train of thought. There was another one I thought that was related to how many games you wanted in a season, wasn't there?
Hmm.
It was like, do you
I
want 12? Do you want 24?
I
Or I
don't
guess I'll just ask you,
remember,
do you have a
and
feeling on that?
I I don't remember that being a question, but it's been a while ago. But I don't recall a slide in this deck. I don't recall seeing a question about that. Is that what
Okay.
you mean?
I thought there was, and I thought it was related here, but I guess maybe there's not. That's fine. Do you
Okay.
have a preference on 12 or 24?
Huh. Um, I was really happy with the 24 game season, getting a couple games a week. But if I had to make a choice and it was okay, so I would want it to be the same for everyone, whatever it was. Like if it was 12, make it 12 for everyone. If it's 24, make it 24 for everyone. But if I had my druthers, I'd probably pick a 12 game season at this point because every week you're getting a game instead of every week you're getting two games. And I feel
Hmm.
like that would give me more of a chance to sink my teeth into it and discuss it with friends. And, you know, instead of trying to cram two games into a week and sort of like lightly playing each of them, I'd rather get into a little more depth with one of them. Or if it's a 24 game season, then lay it out over the course of 24 weeks versus two games every week for 12 weeks. That would be my preference. What would be your preference, Don?
Yeah, I'm with you. It was a little harder on us because we were reviewing 2 games a week, so we
Yeah.
really were stretched thin. But I'm with you. I'd rather have 1 game a week for 12 weeks. And it would be kind of cool to have 2 seasons a year, maybe. So 6 months a year, you would have a game a week, and then six
Yeah.
months you would be off. I think I was in my head, I thought it'd be cool to do like, do you remember in the 70s, the Star Wars figures weren't out when the movie came out? So they gave you like that voucher so that you get the first 4 figures, and they had in the stores, they had a voucher. I mean, I wasn't alive, but they
I
had a
was going to say, are
voucher.
you older than me? I don't
No,
remember this.
no, they had a voucher. Well, Star Wars fans, they have a voucher. You go to Toys R Us or whatever, you buy a voucher and you put that under the tree, and then your kid got a voucher for four
Uh,
figures, and they mailed them to you 3 or 4 months or 6 months later or whatever.
hmm.
And so it'd be kind of cool to do something like that, like, oh, holiday season or whatever. So you get this voucher or whatever,
Yeah.
you get it, and then it's like a Christmas thing or a holiday surprise, and then
Hmm.
boom, January 1st is your first, or the first week of January, your first game.
Hmm.
Second
Yeah.
week, second game. So that's your first season, and then second one, some other promo. I was thinking that'd be cute.
I really like your thoughts about 3 months on, 3 months off, 3 months on, 3 months off for a season. So, like, you know, the first 3 months of the year could be season two. The first 3 months, or I guess you could just say quarter three would be season three, and then back to quarter one, quarter three, quarter one, quarter three.
It probably depends
Yeah.
on what's financially responsible, because if it is $30 for 12 games, it's $3 a game, but that's spread across however many devs.
Mhm.
And some of these devs, they need more than $3 a game or whatever the split is with Panic, and to make it viable, because we're going to expect the type of quality games we got in season one. We're not going to expect, no knock on pulp games, because there's a lot of good experiences in pulp, but we're not going to expect pulp games.
Mhm. Yeah, true.
Anyway, that's probably a
We,
whole other episode
I was gonna say we should
topic.
start talking about game pricing, Don. That's always fun.
Uh, how far into the episode are we? Hmm, should we? I know we were going to do this next section. Should we maybe save it for Nick?
Uh, we got this. Let's do it.
All right. All
Here
right.
we go.
Start us off.
Let's see. How many hours per week do you spend playing Playdate games? Um, this average ends up to be a little over 2 hours a week, 2.26 hours per week.
Mhm.
A lot of folks in the 0, 1, 2, 3 range, and then a lot further down from there. Um, sounds about right to me. I mean, especially with the demographics, you know, the 30 and older crowd. I think we've all got jobs and families and, you know, are kind of trying to find scant moments to hop on this device when we can. So that sounds about right to me. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts?
No backlight, half hour a day.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
Yeah. What is your preferred play session length? Overwhelming majority with 59% was 10 to 30 minutes. Yeah. Yeah, that sounds about right to me. There were
Mhm.
also options for 1 to 10 minutes, and 30% of folks said that was their optimum play session length. There was also half an hour to an hour. 8.3% of folks said that, and then an hour plus 1.85%. So that 10 to 30 minutes seems to be the sweet spot. That seems to be about right to me.
I mean, without a grip, playing this much longer, I can't. I mean, I
Mm,
use a grip
yeah.
all the time. I've mentioned that
Hmm.
many, many, many times, and I
Yeah.
can't imagine playing this for longer than a half hour without a grip.
Yeah. 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 Some of those score chasers really sink their teeth into me, and I have played some 45 or hour sessions, and
Ooh.
oh boy, my hand's cramping up after that.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Cool. Games wish listed on catalog. The overwhelming majority at 300 votes is zero games wish listed on catalog. That's me.
I was gonna
But that
ask. I bet that's right.
Yeah. I think so much more could be done with the wish list system, honestly, because you could make like an Amazon list. I think we mentioned this on a past podcast episode where like I wish I had games A, B, C, and D, and I don't have them yet. So like you could purchase one for me, or I could purchase one for you if I took a
Gift
look at your
system.
wish list. I know it doesn't work like that. It's basically just sort of a reminder system of, hey, this game is something I fancied, and now it's finally out, so now I can buy it. I just wish there was a little more functionality to it. So it looks like the average is 9.2 games wish listed on catalog for folks. It goes all the way up to 75 games wish listed on catalog. So 9.7, 9.2, the average.
Games on your wish list are on sale. I don't have that many in my wish list either, but it does send you an email if something's on sale. Oh, there must have been a big
Uh,
sale in March
mm,
because I've got like there was like six of them on sale then
okay.
in this
That's kind of
email.
interesting too. If you wish list something, it'll notify you when it goes on sale. That's cool.
Hmm.
Cool. Also, they went over audio preference while playing. The vast majority of folks just listen to the plain old speaker coming out of the Playdate. But 10% of folks like the headphones, and another 10% of folks like it no sound at all. Um, what's your preference, Don?
I'm usually on mute or very low speaker. If it's
Yeah.
something I want, if it's a game we're reviewing, then I'll turn it up. Or a game where I need the audio. I've listened to headphones. I don't think I've listened to them since season one games, honestly.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I know Nick does. So
Yeah, yeah, I think Nick's a big proponent of headphones. He is definitely the audiophile among us. But once in a
mhm.
while, I'll pop my headphones in, but it's seldom. Yeah, I like listening on the Playdate if I can, but if it's not practical, mute it goes.
It's a good
Uh,
podcast system. A lot of the
yeah,
games are podcast games, honestly.
right. Cool. Don, what's this next slide all about?
The word bubble. This are games tagged. What are these? These top 20 tags most closely associated with desired Playdate content. That's right. What games do you want to see on the Playdate?
Yeah.
And so there's a whole list of genres. The top 20 is mostly the same as it was in 2022, but distribution is more spread out across the board. I.e., arcade was voted by over two-thirds of respondents but this year it was just over half. So they've spread out a little bit, which is nice. Arcade's still number one. Adventure's right behind it, both about 55%. Puzzles
Puzzle
right
games are
right up
also
there. Yeah,
over
it's weird that
50%.
action's
Yeah.
that low. I think of like action and adventure as being pretty close. But honestly, the top 20 that they show here is all really, really high. The lowest
Mhm.
one is 30%
Yeah.
with almost 200 votes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Cool. Nice
nothing weird.
diversity of genres there.
Yeah. What are the smallest words on here? It looks like realistic, fighting,
Tanks,
loot, romance,
difficult. I don't want a difficult game.
education, hunting. Yeah, I don't really
Mm,
want a hunting game.
yeah,
4X, what is that?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know
Huh.
what that is either.
Interesting.
Procedural generation. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, cool.
All right. So with the next one, we've got game tags and continent differences. So the rank changes in preferred game tags, North America versus folks outside of North America. It looks like the games most preferred by players in North America are starting with stealth. Also, we like point and click games, atmospheric, tactical, and comedy. Those are the top five for us. But if you're outside of North America, it looks like you far prefer dating sims to anything else, followed by female protagonists, side scrollers, multiple endings, and great soundtracks. Those are the top five for folks outside of the US. Is that what you're getting from this, Don?
Difference in ranks between the two. I don't know if they're the top five, but they're just our bottom five, right? Because like
Well, I
I
think it's
don't
the
know if
biggest gap between
biggest gaps, yeah,
us. Okay.
biggest
Okay.
gaps.
All
It
right.
doesn't mean dating sim is the top. It just means
The
Biggest gap.
biggest gap
Yes.
between North America and not North America.
Yes.
Okay.
Continent differences is the headline of this slide.
Okay. Thank you
Yeah.
for straightening me out. Yeah. So, biggest gap, dating sim, preferred by non-North
And
American
stealth.
audiences, and stealth,
I hate
preferred
stealth
by
games, and I'm in
North
North
American.
America. Hate
What
them.
even uh, you know, I was sort of surprised that this is the way things
I
were
hate point and
falling.
click too. I hate tactical.
Nick is influencing our
Nick was
listeners with
jamming
his
the
point and
votes. He
click.
must have been,
Yeah.
he probably has 30 Google accounts though. He's every podcast he's done, he's probably getting on all of them.
So what is a stealth game? You walk around and be sneaky?
Yeah,
I
you're trying
don't
to
get
get
it.
caught. You get from point A to point B without getting caught.
What game is like that?
I mean,
What
Metal
game have
Gear
we
Solid is
played?
probably the most famous one, but Assassin's
Hmm.
Creed is a big one. Although I do love Assassin's Creed games, they
Huh.
do stealth right.
But
I was
is
trying to think
there
of what Playdate games are
that's
stealth.
what I was going to ask. What
Maybe
Playdate
that's
game is
what
like
people
that?
want. Is that in the word
Hmm.
bubble? Is that a big one in the
Rank
word
changes and
bubble?
preferred game tags. I guess so. I guess
I
North
don't know.
Americans really hankering for a stealth game on the Playdate. All right.
I
Well,
have been playing a stealth game on Xbox all week, and I hate the stealth in it. This the new Star Wars Outlaws game. Hate it.
hate it, but you've been
I want
playing
to
the heck
go in
out of
and
it.
talk to people, and then either we get in a fight and I shoot them, or
Ouch.
yeah,
All right.
sneak
Well,
around.
I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but why don't we talk about game tags and gender differences?
Cool.
So, with this one, there are some wide-ranging opinions between genders. So, genders are divided between male versus male, non-binary, and other. Males made up, as you may recall from the beginning of this segment, about 81% of respondents, and other respondents, female, non-binary, and other, made up about 19% of the responses. Now, between those categories, it seems as though more favored by non-male respondents were dating sims, romance, walking simulators, crafting, and story-rich games. Uh, so I don't know. I like a story-rich game.
Hmm.
I'm glad those are, of interest to folks. I feel like they're interest to me too. Anyway,
Okay.
we've
Differences,
got
age
two more
differences,
slides.
not age favorites, age differences.
We can do this.
More favored by younger players are racing and driving games, bullet hell sandbox, fast-paced games. Not so much favorited by younger players, ages 25 and younger. Why do the older players end at 35? What
No,
are
no,
we
no.
like,
There's
senior
three
citizens?
categories. So the
Oh, okay.
categories are
Thank
25 and
God.
younger.
I was
Second
like,
category is 26 to
the 30.
35. Third
Okay.
category is 36 and
Thank
older.
you for, oh, thank you, Ryan. Okay.
I got your back.
All right. Exploration, walking sim, tactical, female protagonist, and management. Why the hell would you want management? What is a management game as opposed to a resource management?
Hmm. Is that like what is that? Super corporate tax evader? You're managing your shredding?
That's a fast paced, I think.
Hmm.
Get your
Okay.
cranking. I don't
Yeah.
know. Anyway, those are more favored by the elderly 26 to 35 players. And
And
then
then there's another
the
breakdown.
expired players, uh, more favored by players 36 and older, would
Well,
be
again, not
resource
necessarily our favorites or more favored, but the biggest gap
the biggest
between
gaps. Yes, the biggest
36 and
gaps.
older
But
and
we're really going deep on these really
26 to
deep
35. But
slides.
but it's so interesting. I don't
It's
know. I
interesting
think
to
it's
us. We just lost.
well,
Nobody's gonna make. I'm gonna have to like drill the hell out of the timestamps on this one.
all right. Well, while
Data
while
nerd heavy
while
episode.
Don is contemplating episode
I'm
timestamps,
not
let's talk to you
knocking. I like it too, Ryan. I'm not knocking you.
about real old gamers,
We picked like
36 and older.
we picked like a very Twitch heavy game for a data heavy episode. All
Oh
right.
my gosh.
Resource management, tower defense, dating sim, real time. I feel like real time would be the opposite end. That's a very Twitch heavy genre. And then
So
crafting.
those are the ones more favored by players 25, 26
Not
to
more.
35.
Yes. Yeah, I guess more favored. Yeah.
Whereas games more favored by players 36 and older are racing, driving, family friendly, sports, beat 'em up, and action.
So that's
Uh,
interesting. More favored by older players, 36 and older, is racing and driving, and more favored by younger players is racing and driving.
I thought that was really interesting too. Maybe the middle range just really hates racing driving games.
They're tired of they're tired of driving. We're
They
tired of driving. I'm old. I'm tired of driving.
carting our kids around. Yeah, so
I
I
don't
thought that
know.
was real interesting too. So I guess if we're using Don logic here, which I think is sound, those middle of the road games and potentially most
Yeah,
preferred by both.
yeah.
In the younger slots, we've got stuff like stealth, story rich, mystery, first person, separate from shooter, and procedural generation. Okay, so those are the young folks agreed upon games. Whereas for 26 to 35 and 36 and older, it's going to be retro, short, side scroller, tactical, trading, and replay value. I don't know what that game tag is, but okay. Um,
I'll replay that. You like the game we're going to talk about eventually today. It
okay.
has a lot of
Let's see.
replay value. You go back to it again and again. Don't get tired of
Okay.
playing it. Score
I guess,
chasers. Score chasers.
I guess I was thinking about game genres as I was reading these, but so that
Game
tripped me up a little bit.
tags. These are game tags.
Okay, fine.
Procedural
Oh,
generation could be a lot of different genres. I mean, it's rogue-like is what they're trying to get around.
that's true. Okay.
Ryan, you
I
look so tired of me or something.
of stats? No, I'm not tired of any of this. What are you talking about? I've got my game face on, man. All
Let's
right,
talk about our favorite games, Ryan.
I would love to. So, we have a slide that features the top 12, top 25 most mentioned favorite games, starting with a big old lead for Mars After Midnight. Super hyped game, and evidently it worked because a lot of people are liking that game. It's followed by, Pick Pack Pub, bring it up number second. Very
Same here.
nice.
Yep.
We've got Root Bear, Casual Birder, Saturday Edition, Bloom, Under the Castle, Ratcheteer, Whitewater Wipeout, Crankin's Time Travel Adventure, Zipper, Resonant Tail, and a bunch more down the line. So I don't know. Do any of these jump out at you in particular, Don?
The one that jumps out is the one you stopped at. Sketch, Share, Solve. That game was released like the first month or two of the Playdate, and boom, it's right here in the middle. I was
Mm.
surprised to see. You know what kind of game that is, Ryan?
Isn't it like sort of a drawing type game?
Ring the bell. It's a nonogram Picross game.
Oh, that's why I don't know what it is.
That's why you don't know. Anyway, I was surprised to see that one, but yeah, I mean, these are 25 amazing games. So
Yeah, totally. I mean, even these bottom of the top 25 are bangers. I mean, we've got
I mean,
Angel Pop, Island, Omaze, Hyper Meteor. That was my top of the list a little while back. We've got Sparrow Solitaire, Realistic Fishing. We got Toad representing. We've got Factory Farming, Inventory Hero with a little bit of Nevin Mergen for you. All kinds of great games on here.
I mean, these
Yeah,
are the top 25 most mentioned games, and we just hit over 1,000 games.
that's
So
insane.
these aren't like the bottom of the top 25. These are the top of the top, 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 top.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. So we're going to relieve Don and stop with the stats so that we can get on with the rest of the episode and Don can relieve his nose pinch between his brows.
I have a migraine.
And
Let's talk about
we're,
stats
go-
for an hour.
we're going to move.
The wiki that I was talking about earlier, Ryan, you remember we were talking about the
I,
Playdate
I
wiki
did.
and how much
I,
stronger it's getting.
yeah, I listened to you back
It
then. That
now
was,
has a list of spooky games for 2024. And in coordination with that spooky games list, catalog has bolstered it with its own
mm,
catalog list of spooky games.
go
And so
catalog.
they're both going to be there in our show notes. So check
Fantastic.
those out. And then before you say the thing you're going to say here in a second, there's also, I found a cool little list of 9 must-play games for the Playdate on Reddit. Somebody put it on their clevergames.lol website. So I'll put that in there too. Okay.
Cool. Good finds, Don. And the thing that I wanted to mention is that playdates are still out of stock. A while back, we postulated that maybe they just pulled them from the online store because they had an event or two. You know, they had Portland Retro Gaming and something else I'm already blanking on. But they're done with those events and playdates are still out of stock. I don't know what's going on. It says that they're going to be shipping in fall 2024, which is right now. We're in October, for goodness sakes. So, man, I don't know. I'm hoping those playdates come back in stock soon. It would be nice to have them available for the holidays. We'll see how that goes. We'll keep you updated.
They dropped the pallet off outside a Waffle House in New Jersey or something. Just haven't discovered them yet. I don't know what happened.
Oh man. All right,
Oof.
everybody go search those dumpsters. You might find 4,000 playdates. In the meantime, we are really gonna hubity boop you into the indie inventory now. So, Don, moving right along with this episode.
Vollemental. It is a volleyball game where you play as different elements, fire, ice, presumably other elements of
Uh,
volleyball playing. It's $4. It's by the Kodiak.
hmm,
Check it out.
these are such lovely little player sprites here. I'm
Hmm.
really enjoying this. Very cool.
It does look neat. I randomly found this one today. It is not, for some reason, it's not in the like new games, but man, this one looks great. It's called Home Run Spinoff Forever. Looks like you hold your Playdate sideways and
Ooh.
do stuff with it. I don't know. It's $5. It looks really awesome,
Oh
and
wow.
I don't
This
know what's
looks
going
like
on.
this looks like a pitch and bat game for the play date, but you flip it on its side and use the crank, I'm assuming, as a means to swing that bat. That's interesting.
There's lots of
Huh.
different features and settings and whatnot. So
Yeah, it looks like you can practice your accuracy or strength or very interesting. Wow.
mhm.
Huh.
Anyway, interesting find today,
Good
right before
find
the show.
indeed.
Yes.
That's
Flappy estrogen.
$5. Did we mention that?
Yes, I am not even going to try to read the dev's name, but you can read it in our show notes for Home Run Spinoff Forever,
What?
$5. Dude, you
Oh,
want to try to read
oh,
that? Go for it.
I'm sorry. I was looking at flappy estrogen. I thought that's what you didn't want to say.
No,
What's home run
I can
spinoff?
read EPU. I can handle that one.
Wow. Okay. I'm with you. All right. It'll be in the show notes for home run spinoff forever dev. Yep. Agreed. Next, we have flappy estrogen. Please tell me about this, Don.
Flappy Estrogen. It is by EPU. It is name your own price and is Flappy Bird with estrogen for the Playdate trans community. So yeah, there appears to be needles and patches, maybe. I don't know, but it's certainly unique. So check out Flappy Estrogen. You'll hear
That's
more about a similar
fantastic.
game here in a bit. Yeah.
Yep. And
I love a unique game. So
by the way, flappy estrogen is name your own price. So you can figure out what you want to pay for that one. But after that, free right now is Don, take it
is
away.
still free. It is still free. Okay. This one is called Close Approach. An engine failure leaves your spacecraft with no propulsion. So you're basically just flying around, floating in outer space. You have all these different gauges, and you're trying to like sync up, and it's almost like you're taking pictures of different stuff while you're floating in space. This game is really, really cool. It is currently free. It's 100% off. It's usually $6. Go grab this right now. Stop.
What
I
in the
mean, don't stop.
hay?
Don't stop listening to us. Keep
Uh,
listening to us, but then also go check this out. It is really cool.
wow. It even comes with a handbook text document. Way cool. All right.
Yeah.
Just downloaded. Thanks for the tip, Don.
It's a banger. Next up from we didn't say it was from S. Namson or Snamson or something for Close Approach. Close Approach free right now. Rock,
Okay.
paper, scissors. It is not what you think. It's not just like, oh, you're pushing rock, paper, scissors. You tilt to move like your scissors and you run into pieces of paper and rocks, and then like the way they collide does stuff. I haven't played it yet, but it's 99 pieces of paper against 99 scissors and 99 rocks. It's a battle royale. It's super unique. I don't know what's going on with this thing, but it looks really neat. It's a really cool
Wow.
idea.
Yeah, agreed. Wow. Very
Um,
interesting. It looks like there's some black spaces for walls that can be sort
mhm.
of bashed apart to get to one another. Oh, very interesting. Oh, and look at the counts for the rocks or papers or scissors at the bottom that keep
Yeah.
track down there. Wow.
Really
Very
cool game.
inventive. Huh. Love it.
It's by
That
Monokani. Go check it out.
and that is also free. What in the hay? We're getting all these bangers for free this week. Unbelievable.
Next up, we have Hyperion AG by Ashlar Code. It is 450, and it is almost like a F-Zero kind of top-down
Hmm.
racer.
Wow.
Looks pretty slick.
This looks impressive. Almost like Vector in its aesthetic. But yeah, top-down racer is really apropos. Looks like you're sort of racing in this like uh, you know, pinball ramp channel almost with these little ships. Looks
A
really,
channel, yeah.
really incredible.
I guess you have weapons though, so I shouldn't have said F-Zero. But yeah, anyway, looks very impressive.
Neat. Wow.
Name your
Mark
own
that one down.
price. Well, I
Nate,
don't know why I said
what?
four. I don't know why I said 450. It's name your own price.
Name your own price. What the hay is going on? Okay.
All right, catalog games. I really want to talk about this one for a minute. It is Bender 2 Bend Harder by Matt Sefton. It came out today, $8. Super. Did you play the original Bender? Do you remember this game?
No,
It
I'm
was a very
unfamiliar with Bender.
early, it came out in 2001 or two, a very early Playdate game where basically it was a one button game. You held a button and then let go at the perfect angle.
This is ringing a bell. Okay. Yes,
Yeah.
please go on.
So this one he added a lot more depth. There's different modes. There's, I think, five or six different, does it say how many different modes? There's several different modes. You're trying to, I mean, obviously every mode you do something different, but the main gameplay doesn't change. You're trying to match the angle. There is a two button mode, which is incredibly difficult, where you're pushing A and B to try and match different angles at the same time, and it is crazy hard to get used to. You can use the crank or the buttons. It's very charming because it like works in that you're a robot bending these bars, but even like the title card gets into like the mood, like, okay, you're getting ready for work. Even the like the title card of the game, it's super charming. And there's a lot I want to say about it. I feel like we might be talking about this game in the future a little bit more.
Oh, foreshadowing.
Um,
Okay. Very good.
but
Very good.
something notable, Ryan, it has all
Yes.
different leaderboards for every different mode,
Hmm.
and they update like almost instantly. It's like
Huh.
literally less than 5 seconds they update.
Hey, look at you, Mr. Modest. Number one on the one button best. Nice work, Don. I see you on there. I see
Yeah.
you.
Oh man,
Boy,
what
on
is
all
it?
these leaderboards.
No, I was a lot better before we started recording. What is all this garbage?
It looks like you're Benderthon best as well. My goodness,
I was
Don.
dominating before we started recording. We gotta wrap this up, dude.
Okay. Fantastic.
Um,
So, if we didn't mention, we are in the catalog section, starting with Matt Sefton.
yes.
Moving on
No, no, not
to,
moving on. I have to complain about something. Look at okay,
uh-oh.
Matt
Oh,
Sefton. Look at this. Matt. You saw these Matts? I uncovered a bug in our Discord, and so then Matt hopped on, and look at all these Matts now. Now he's number one on two of these. Devs need
that
to
sounds
stay
like a
off these
bug to me.
leaderboards. I'm not okay with this. There's always devs on these leaderboards at the top of leaderboards. We don't need extra challenges to try and beat their scores. We need to beat each other's scores. We don't need to beat the dev scores. We need devs to hop on. If they want to make sure stuff works, they can get like 20 points on each one. Okay, we don't need 10,000 points on each one, right? And these early beta people, can we have like beta leaderboard? You don't like that idea?
I can feel your frustration, Don. I'm not ready to boot off the leaderboard. I, yeah, they might have a little bit of an unfair advantage knowing what's coming,
A
but
little
yeah, sure. I don't know.
blocked. I
Okay.
get it. He's like setting the bar is like, you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. I get it. But I don't want to beat the best. I want to just have people beat me.
Just have people think that you're the best.
I want my day in the sun.
All right. Well, why don't we move on
Anyway, all
to
right, fine.
Echo the Oracle's Scroll? This is made by Bumbleborn, and you are exploring a fading world and best its many challenges. Explore a fading world and best its many challenges. Yeah, that's right. As an adventurous child, you'll embark on a quest to deliver a scroll from Bottom Rock up to the archives. Journey through magma lakes and overgrown caverns as you venture through the Kingdom 3. Looks like a neat little platformer game with some nice big bosses to play through. Ooh, look at that map on the bottom GIF. Oh, looking really nice. This one's $8. Looks like it's totally worth it. Uh, and I know you're real fearful for this episode's link, so why don't we move on to the next one, Don?
It's giving some Shovel Knight vibes.
Ooh,
Ryan. Fortress by Alan and Beth Cook, $2. This one has an episode by Destination Playdate. But yeah, it's a cool little adventure game. You go through and talk to a bunch of different people, go through different rooms, talk to NPCs, and very cute. I watched that episode, and uh, the art is charming, the text is charming, and for $2, yeah.
yeah, kind of a pulpy RPG vibe to it. After that, we've got Go Noodle, made by Slow Flow. This is a fun and fast little arcade action game that feels really good to control. At least that is what the description says. And it looks like this has given me vibes of that like crank-based Snake game that we had early on in the itch cycle. Are you recalling the game I'm talking about, Don?
Yeah, that one was a multiplayer game. Oh, we've talked about this one a couple times. I really like Go Noodle. I got it on itch, and I've nagged you to get it several times, but now you can get it on catalog.
Okay,
I think
sweet.
you'll like it. This is a really good snake game if you like those type.
Okay, I do love Snake games, but boy, was I ever wigged out by that crank control of that one particular game. I just had a hard time wrapping my head around it. I need those cardinal directions, but hey, if
This
it's a
one works
Dawn
really good.
suggestion, if
It
it's a Dawn suggestion, it's probably a good one because I've pretty much liked every pick of the week that you've had.
it does feel good to control. It says right at the top, game that feels good to control. Yeah,
Says the dev.
I agree.
All right. So after Go Noodle, what do we have, Don?
A Dino's Journey. I don't know anything about this. It came out today. It looks cute. It appears to be a pulp game where it's a dungeon crawler and you're trying to save the world from dinosaurs. It's
Looks
got
like
like
it's got
a
some
little bit of a Jurassic
puzzles
Park vibe, maybe.
and
There's like
puzzle elements
pens
too.
and
Yeah,
I don't know, looks cute.
cool.
Yeah.
All right. And
It's three
finally, it looks
bucks.
excellent. Finally, it looks like you provided a link to the sale page, which says there are currently no on
Yes.
sale games. So there you go, guys. That brings us to the end of the indie inventory, which brings us to the pick of the week. And this time it's from moi. At least the pick is mine. The game was developed by Ed, and the game is called Squids. Now, Squids is kind of a Flappy Bird clone, but boy, howdy, does this game ever take it to another level with a bunch of different game mechanics. So you've got your initial floaty mode where you can, as the game says, click A to float up a little bit. And that's the instructions that it gives you. You've also got modes where you can click A to change direction. So basically, you start floating. Is it up or down? One of those directions. And then if you want to change to go the other direction, press A. Likewise, boom, 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 and keep alternating the directions that you go to miss the incoming pipes. Another thing you can do is play a crank-based mode where you're cranking that squid either up or down in order to miss those pipes. And finally, there is a lazy mode where the squid is just squidding along, doing its squid thing, and you are playing the pipes. So the pipes themselves will crank up and down based on where you crank. So it really adds a surprising variety to this game. Uh, this is an itch game. This is not yet a catalog game. And the reason I mention that is because surprisingly, it has a leaderboard system. I don't know that we've ever had a leaderboard system on an itch game before. I could be wrong about that, but I sure don't recall.
There's a
Um,
few, yeah.
okay. Well, essentially, in order to get your scores on this leaderboard system, you have a QR code that comes up, and you can pop that on your phone, and it registers your username and score and tosses you on the leaderboard. It was a really slick little system. So that was really fun to see in action. And man, this is just such a fun little score chaser that really sunk its teeth into me. But Don, I don't know how you fancy score chasers, so I'm really interested to hear your thoughts about this game.
I'm gonna start with oh, by the way, I think you might have broken up when you said the name of the dev. His name is Ezden.
Okay.
I just want to make that clear. So I'm gonna start with the low blow. I do not like Flappy Bird games, and so when you picked this, I was like, right on. But that said, this is a very good one of those games. The crank controls are very smartly integrated and made it actually fun. For someone who doesn't like Flappy Bird games, the I'm so glad that there are more than just a Flappy mode because the other modes are really fun. Uh, the crank, like I said, the crank is very well integrated, and I think my favorite was the lazy mode where you move the pipes up and down
Yeah, yeah.
because something that was so smart about it is the game does not begin until you move the crank, excuse me, move the squid into a horizontal position. And so a
Hmm.
lot of times your crank will be wherever the crank is positioned. And so the game doesn't just start as soon as you push A, which would suck because you'll just hit whatever. It's very smart that you have to physically move the crank until you click into a horizontal position, and then boom,
Yeah.
it'll start going. And
Yeah,
I'm
once you
so
get into
glad.
that zero position, that is
Mhm.
really smart. Yeah.
That makes it so you are very intentionally beginning your turn with your hand at the ready,
You know,
and it
I'm
made it
I'm
really
glad you
fun.
mentioned that because another score chaser slash time chaser that I chose recently with Dolphin Splash had a crank-based mechanic to it, but if you weren't careful, you could start that crank in any number of positions. And so, in
Hmm.
order to get that muscle memory down, I found myself really having to be cognizant of, oh, okay, I'm starting a game, so I'm gonna whip this crank back around, and now I can start rather than like having it in a different position, and then it feels totally different as I'm playing the game. So yeah, you're right. This was a really smart use of the crank, forcing you back to zero position before you start getting that baseline before you get going again. Yeah, real cool. Um, so cool that you like lazy. I like that pipe version. That was really fun. So it sounds like you gravitated toward the crank-based mechanics rather than the button-based mechanics of the game. Is that correct?
I th- I mean, I started with button because that's how excuse me, that's how Flappy Bird typically that's how you would play it.
Mhm.
And the buttons work fine too, but the crank really set it apart because you can be so precise. That's something
Yeah.
where the this is another game where the Playdate excels. You're going to get a different experience with this game than on any other platform. It's not just swiping up and down on a phone or tapping on a console. You're getting very precise movement. And so if you watch the GIFs, you're going straight up and vertical down, or vertical up, vertical down, vertical up, vertical down, which you can't really do on any other types of flappy games, which is really neat. And the squid, the shape of a squid was really smart because it's arrow shaped.
Hmm.
There's just a lot of like it looks like a very basic and kind of whatever simple game, but there just were a lot of really thoughtful choices made in the development of this game that could make it something special. And this is we have to ring in the bell again because they said it was inspired by the paper airplane mode on WarioWare, which is another thing that is shaped like a squid. You know, it's got a point at the end. A bird doesn't so much have that. One other quick thing on the lazy mode, you're moving the pipes up and down instead of moving the squid like you said, but the
Hmm.
pipes also rotate around. So it's
Yes.
not like you have to like crank it all the way to the bottom. You can just keep going with the pipe going all the way to the ceiling, and eventually the gap will wrap around and come back up
Yeah.
the bottom.
Yeah.
I
The
didn't
pipes
realize that at
loop.
first, and I
Yep.
was like, oh my God, this is so hard.
Yeah.
But eventually I was like, oh, I can just keep going, and it makes it a lot easier. And I was
Yeah.
able to get a little bit further.
Yeah. So I'm glad to hear that you enjoyed the crank-based modes. With that said, I also think that the button-based modes were also very fun,
Mhm,
personally. Um, so the squid itself, one thing that we haven't touched on is that is a very sensitive squid. The squid, if you graze one of the tentacles of the squid, ooh, you're done. You don't have to just completely, T-bone the side of the pipe in order to be killed. A very light graze is going to get you, so you really have to be precise. But I really started to fancy that first mode. I think it was floaty, where essentially you're kind of button clicking into parabolas, and it sort of like tosses you up, and you have to judge your trajectory back down. And I really enjoyed how you needed to have a lot of foresight in that. Like basically on your way up, you need to understand where you're coming down because if you wait until you're coming down in order to correct, then you're
mhm.
probably going to launch yourself into the next pipe. So I enjoyed the forethought that you needed to have as a player in those modes. That was really cool. I had a tough time wrapping my head around the alternating mode where button click means up and then button click means down. I got up to about 50 some odd pipes or so, but man, I was far from the top of the leaderboards there. Um, I, I got into this rhythm where I could kind of like go up and then go down, and then if I came down or up too soon, a strategy that I had was you can kind of like double click, boom, boom, up, down, to sort of like
Hmm.
stall your descent or stall your ascent. But inevitably, I would start mixing things up and ram myself into a pipe. That was a tough one for me. Um, I'm
Have
trying
you
to think
put?
about the. Oh,
Sorry,
go
have you
ahead.
played Flappy Bird? Like, have you played those games
No.
or anything like this? Oh wow, yeah,
No.
that's kind of how they go with sort of like uplift, and then you gotta let it settle and know when to hit it again.
Yeah.
You got to
Yeah.
really judge every move. There
Hmm.
was we should mention that we did not play the update. There was an update since we uh made this episode. We made a thread on Discord and the dev as in he joined or excuse me, they joined. Uh there well, we'll talk about it here in a minute. I believe it's a man. But so they added an evil mode which is harder, but they also made it a little easier because there were like you were talking about with just one pixel touching something will end the game for you. There are situations where it's very difficult to avoid that from happening. It seems to give you almost like a pixel on both sides. And so the minimum distance has been changed and made a little bit wider in those situations. But now that I'm looking at the leaderboard and like Toad is number one with a gigantic score on Cranky. And it tells you when you've played on evil mode, but now I'm like, oh, did Toad get it after the easier update or
Yeah, I was curious about that
before
too
it?
because I was still running for top scores, but I was on the older version. I have not updated yet. So I was curious how those older, newer versions would integrate. It seems like they just toss them all in there. But if you've got the newer version, it sounds like you have a better chance of having more space between the pipes. So I should
Mhm.
probably upgrade.
Yeah, restore honor to our name, Ryan. Ryan is the Hello Playdate podcast. If you see that on the leaderboards, Ryan is the best of us, so he wears that title.
Uh, well,
Um,
we
either
had
way,
an
even if we weren't at the top, it was still fun and
it
very
was a ton of
cool.
fun. A
Did
ton
you
of
say how
fun.
the
Have
leaderboards work? How do you post to them?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, I mentioned the QR code that leads you
Yeah,
to the web page. So,
yeah.
yeah.
There's
But
a game called
yes.
Brains that work the same way with the QR code. I think there's a couple that do that.
Oh, okay. Interesting. This was my first experience with that, but good to know that there are others. So yeah, with this being a pick of the week, it was really fun to have a community of folks in there kind of gunning for these top scores. And I got in there early and then was competing for a while. And then I think it probably seemed like I forgot the game existed for the past week or so. But I swear I was getting on that game and giving it my all, but I could not best my best scores over the course of the past week. But maybe that's because other people are cheating by getting that new upgrade, the new update to the game and getting those higher scores. So maybe I need to get that update to the game and give it another go. Anyway, Speaking of folks who got in there and were getting some high scores, Dino chimed in on the Discord and said, I've been having loads of fun with your game over the last 2 weeks, Ted slash Esden. Thanks for developing it, and thanks for stopping by to contribute to this conversation. Some thoughts from Dino. I really enjoyed switching between the different modes. They offer far more variety than I expected. My favorite is probably swingy. Settling into a rhythm and hitting the apex on every turn is very satisfying. I was glad that Ted made an adjustment to the minimum gap between pipes. Encountering the previous minimum gap during a great run was a frustrating piece of bad luck. I think the balance now is much better and more fun. Also, speaking of that update, Evil Mode was a brutal bonus edition that turned out to be my favorite way of playing the game. Huh, interesting. I guess I'm really going to have to give this a try. It feels like you have to hone a different set of skills, or at least really sharpen the skills learned on normal mode. The scoreboard solution is excellent. I was impressed to see the addition of a scoreboard to a side-loaded game at all, let alone one with a solution as slick as this. One super subtle design feature I valued was the quick restart option in the game over screen. As a score chaser, mirror UI design, that minor UI design detail made a big difference. Once you're in the zone, you can stay there and just hit restart. I agree. So the A button, at least on floaty, is the one you're using for gameplay. But then at the very end, once you die, all you have to do is press A again, and you're right back into a new
Mm,
game. So that was nice and easy.
love that.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So every score chaser needs that.
Right. Cool. So that was a little discussion about our pick of the week. Don, did you have any final thoughts?
I did want to mention that Esden was really nice and sent us these really cool Squids pins.
Oh my gosh, that was so cool.
I'll
Uh,
post a picture and well, I'm sure there's some way I can get into the show notes, but they're just really nice and nice quality and another well thought out thing. And just wanted to thank them for sending those our way.
totally, for sure. And so nice little enamel pins that were made from the squid. Uh, what is that
Character,
called?
I
The what
guess.
now?
The Squid character, I guess, or
Yeah. What is the?
protagonist.
Yes, but oh gosh, I'll remember the word I'm looking for as soon as we
Sprite.
sign off. Sprite. That's the word that left my brain. Thank you. All right. Speaking of fantastic games, next episode, Nick would like to play Off Planet Dream. You and me and all of us. So, this is by Ledbetter Games. We're going to have a link to it in the show notes of today's episode. And if that wasn't enough, if you are listening to this right now, you've got a chance to get a free download of Off Planet Dreams, courtesy of Ledbetter Games. Thank you very much, Ledbetter, for supporting the show and listeners of this show. Here's how we're going to give them away. We've got, what is it? Is it three? Three.
I think we got two, but I'll double check. We've got
Okay.
some. We've got
we have
some
we have a
codes.
limited number of of codes, and the way that you have a chance to get this is to head into our Discord. There you will find an Off Planet Dreams thread, and within that thread, here's what you got to do: post a sticker of one of the co-hosts of this podcast. We've got Nick stickers, we've got Don stickers, we've got Ryan stickers. Post one of those stickers in there. That's all you got to do. Then you'll be in the running to get a giveaway from Ledbetter Games for an Off Planet Dreams download code. Okay. We should probably make this happen in the first, few days or something. When
Yeah,
should we
we've got
call
three
quits?
codes, and I'll give them away. What do you think, by Saturday or
What
by Friday, or what do you think?
what if we do something real wacky? What if we give away one a day? And then day one, we've got entrance, one of those folks get it. Day two, we've got entrance, one of those folks gets it. Day three, likewise.
I like the idea of first day listener. Maybe we'll save one till Sunday in case somebody doesn't get to it till the weekend, and that'll be the last one.
Okay,
Sound fair?
sounds good.
Okay.
All right, so hop over to our Discord, head to the Off Planet Dreams thread, post a sticker of one of our co-hosts, and you will be in the running for the game. We'll do this over the course of this week. Sounds like Sunday might be the last day to get in on it, but we're going to give away one a day-ish. Cool. All right. Well, thank you for listening this long in the program. It's been a doozy today. Who knew that Don and I would speak with one another so much? With that said, if you would like to contact us, you can email us at helloplaydatepodcast@gmail.com. You can also find our podcast at playdatepodcast.com. We've got a Discord, as we mentioned. That'll be in the show notes of today's episode, along with Instagram. We're Hello Playdate on there. We're still on the tweeters at Hello PD Podcast, Blue Skis at Hello Playdate, Mastodon. Well, we don't do Mastodon, right? We got to take that
No,
off there.
hardly ever. Yeah.
Threads at Hello Playdate. And oh, how could I possibly forget the Bingo's tip line? You can give us a call, 724 Bingo's one. That's 724-246-4671. Leave a message on there, and we'll all cross our fingers that Don is willing to edit that into the episode. All right. I think that does it for this time, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Don, thanks for putting up with me alone. And thank you, listener, for listening to this whole darn thing.
Thanks all. See you soon.